wanted to welcome everybody to our session today and thank you for joining us. I know it is the day before our nation's holiday, so we're so happy to have you with us. For those who haven't been acquainted with me or the Sandbox, I'm Mackenzie. I'm one of the 5 members of the Sandbox team. We're located downtown Barrie and online to connect people and their ideas to business resources on their journey to success. What a wild, unsettling, and unpredictable last couple of months we've all faced. I know as regions begin to approach reopening their economies, many businesses are struggling to navigate which direction to take when it comes to strategies surrounding rebuilding or even pivoting their business. So today is your opportunity to put your business in the driver's seat and its marketing strategy and confidently walk away knowing what direction you need to take to come out of this with strength and agility. So I'd love to introduce our panelists today. Say a quick hello to Kevin Darcy of Think Fuel Marketing, John Arruda of Central Ontario Broadcasting, Daryl Wojtwitz of NetGain SEO, and Alex Brown of the Beard Club, E-commerce Rockstars, and the Henrik Bernick Entrepreneurship Center of Georgian College. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, gentlemen. Really appreciate you being here. These rock stars are going to take us through some valuable tips on how you can approach marketing in the most effective way during a downturn. So before we get started, just a couple quick side notes for you. We'll be opening up the floor for Q&A at the end of the session. So for those who aren't Zoom experts by now, please use the Q&A feature that's at the bottom of the screen to submit your questions. And we'll be able to keep track easily all of the incredible questions you have for our panel today. And we will be recording this session and providing it to the attendees afterwards. So if you miss something, don't worry, we got your back. So we have so little time and so much goodness here. So I'd like to get us started and introduce to you our first panelist, Kevin Darcy of Think Fuel Marketing. So as a chief marketing enthusiast and founder of Think Fuel Marketing, Kevin helps companies improve their lead generation, enhance customer acquisition, and increase revenue. Kevin comes to us with over 20 years of inbound marketing, sales management, and marketing automation experience. So Kevin, the floor is now yours. Let's get it started.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mackenzie. And just want to echo your thanks to everybody who is in attendance today. It's great to have everyone out here, and I'm really looking forward to today's session with everyone. So what I wanted to start off with was a little background about why we decided to talk about this subject and why we think, advertisement in its various formats is important right now. And, although COVID hasn't officially created a recession, it's driven recession-like behavior. It's caused people to tighten their spending. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty around it right now. And what we want to talk about is how you can, move past that and continue to grow your business going forward. So let's start off with a couple examples. So when we look at these brands on here, on the screen in front of you, there's really, there's not a direct line that you can tie between all of these, but there is something that all of them do have in common. And it's essentially that these brands all double down or continue to push forward with their advertisement budgets in a tough time. So let's look at them one by one here as a couple examples. So let's first look at Kellogg's. In the 1920s, Post cereal was the category leader in ready-to-eat cereal. When the Depression hit, Post cut back significantly on all its advertisement budget, and Kellogg's actually decided to double down on their advertising spend. They invested heavily into radio and introduced their new cereal Rice Krispies at the time, and they introduced Snap, Crackle, and Pop. Kellogg's profit during the recessions grew by 30%, and the company overtook Post as the category leader for decades. So let's look at the next one here, Toyota. For any of you who remember, in 1973-75, we had a 17-month energy crisis. And in the US, the government first issued their very first miles per gallon report for automobiles. And when that came out, Toyota Corolla was actually second only to the Honda Civic in fuel economy. And since Toyota was experiencing strong sales when the economy hit a downturn, the temptation for them was to drop their ad budget. They just got named the most fuel efficient, They were already seeing strong sales, so why continue to advertise? They, after a lot of debate and dispute apparently internally, they resisted doing that, and they doubled down on their advertisement and kept going forward with their long-term strategy. And Toyota actually surpassed Volkswagen as the top imported car maker in the US by 1976, so just 3 years later. So let's look at the next two together, being Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. And in 1990-91, we had a recession, as you probably remember, and Pizza Hut and Taco Bell took advantage of McDonald's decisions to drop its advertisement and promotion budget. And as a result, Pizza Hut increased sales 61% and Taco Bell saw their sales grow by 40%, all while McDonald's sales dropped by 28%. And the last example on this page of Amazon, obviously they're a success story for a number of reasons, but one of their best stories and biggest leaps they made actually came in 2009 during the Great Recession. And that's when they continued to innovate with new products into a slumping economy, with most notably introducing their new Kindle products. And for the first time on Christmas Day 2009, Amazon customers bought more electronic books than printed books because they were more cost effective, they were easier to get, and they were easier to digest. And as a result, in the minds of consumers, Amazon became synonymous with being an innovative company that introduced low-cost alternatives for people who were cash-strapped. And now, for any time people are looking for a deal on a product that they're looking for, almost their first search is almost always on Amazon. So those are some big name organizations, but they're not alone. There's hundreds and thousands of companies in the small, mid-sized space who have done the exact same thing during tough times. Obviously, just you wouldn't recognize their names as much as these big ones. So really what we wanted to highlight there is that the companies that continue to push through and continue to advertise throughout this are the ones who keep pushing forward, the ones who keep succeeding on the outside of it. So we talked a little bit about the why. Now let's talk a little bit about the how on the digital side. When it comes to digital ads, there's a lot of different platforms and tools out there for you to use. You can use tools like Facebook or Instagram or Google to get ads out there in a pay-per-click type of model. Pretty much every social media platform has an ad capability to it. Every search engine does. So what we want to do is show you some quick highlights on the main ones that are the easiest entry points for you. So the most common one that people see is Google Ads. So they're the ones that pop up in the first 3 or 4 positions on Google search results when you search for products or services. And the nice thing about them is they typically drive sales-ready leads. They drive people who know what they're looking for and are ready to buy or invest. You could say that they are educated buyers in the sense that they know what they're looking for, but the only downside to it is it can be very competitive. Because it's one of the most common ones, you're going to run into a lot of your competitors there, which drives up the cost of your ads on those platforms. A good low-cost alternative to get some exposure is Google Display Ads. And those are the ones that you see kind of all over the place. When you're reading news articles online, when you're in a mobile app, all over the web and your mobile device, these are popping up all over the place. They're great for creating brand awareness because you can retarget people who've already been to your site. You can target people who are reading information or interacting with apps that are relevant to your business. They're very low cost to get into. They can be highly targeted in terms of where you're looking for people. And as I said, you can follow people around with your advertisements to really get them to where they want to go. Facebook is just a great platform for people who are targeting consumers. So if you know their demographical information, so age, location, school level, income, things like that, it's great. And the same could be said for Instagram. They're owned by the same platform, but really what you're doing is you're just targeting different age groups between Facebook and Instagram. So they're really good typically for impulse buys. You'll see that a lot on Instagram where people just click on the ad very quickly, buy something because it's a low cost entry. And then the last one I want to talk about is LinkedIn ads. If you target a business to business type audience and you want to find people who have specific job titles, work in specific industries, LinkedIn is the place to go. And LinkedIn is the place to spend your advertisement budget. It's typically a lot higher of a cost because you're competing with people who have B2B type marketing budgets, which are typically higher. But if that's the audience you're focusing on, you're not going to find a better avenue for them than that. So that being said, I guess I'll flip it back over to Mackenzie here, and hopefully that answered some questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. I mean, I love those examples with the big brands. It's so nice to see it on a higher level. And then even experimenting with using ads on social, it may seem so daunting at first, but you don't know the success you're going to have until you try. So on that note, I would like to welcome John Arruda now as our second panelist. John is a radio and marketing professional with 29 years experience, as a client success manager with Central Ontario Broadcasting. John works with clients to develop and execute creative advertising campaigns on Cool FM, Rock 95, and Barrie 360. So John, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mackenzie and Chris and the Sandbox for hosting this event. And thanks to my fellow panelists. Pleasure to be amongst you today. Today, my message is really about your message and the fact that your business should have a well thought out marketing message, and that message needs to evolve as needed. Lately, those messages have needed to evolve very, very rapidly, more so than I've ever seen in all my years in advertising. And the key, of course, to creating a strong message for your business is to understand the mind of your ideal customers. So that's really the bottom line. You need to put yourself in their place. It requires empathy and some imagination. You think about what's relevant to them, what's most important, what do they value, what motivates them, what are their fears and challenges. Now, the answers to those questions today are likely very different than they were in mid-March. We've had at least 3 distinct stages since this pandemic started that require different types of messages to be effective and to keep your brand relevant. So let's just first acknowledge what we've actually been through in the past 3.5 months. It's been a shared traumatic experience. Back in mid-March, we all had to stop what we were doing, halt our normal lives, and put ourselves in sort of suspended animation. So in Canada, in Ontario, and in Simcoe County, we took the collective action that we needed to battle the virus and get things under control. And we did that together. Hopefully, that will be a bonding effect, which kind of brings us closer together as people and as a community. That fact does seem to be reflective in several recent consumer surveys, which show that people are now much more likely than before to support local businesses and seek them out. So for small businesses and local businesses, that's a huge opportunity. The other opportunity from this great pause is that people began to engage in a lot of reflection and reevaluation about many of the aspects of their lives, reorganizing priorities and rethinking what's really important. To me, that suggests a great deal of market share is now up for grabs in every industry. People are questioning everything, what they buy, when they buy, how they buy. So many of the products and services and brands they may have chosen in the past may not be the same now or in the future. So the opportunity for your business is to create a compelling message that shows them why you understand them and what you're providing works best for them. So when this all started, of course, many businesses reduced and stopped their advertising, which is understandable when revenues are taking a nosedive and things look so uncertain. But as Kevin showed us, those businesses which recognize the value of maintaining their advertising through a crisis, and in some cases increasing their investment, are typically well rewarded. But it does take a very long view. You have to, look down the road at your future success as a business. Something else that might be helpful is don't look at it so much as advertising, but rather just communication. When you see it as communication, you can more easily see the value to your brand in maintaining a presence in people's lives. Being that brand that was there through all of it, it can create a really meaningful connection with a consumer, and that can last a very long time. But at the beginning, it was a little weird in those early days, like me, you may remember hearing and seeing ads that kind of made you cringe, ads that were still shouting big sales and door crashers. They seemed very out of place, almost distasteful considering the fear and the panic that we were experiencing. But we had to adapt very quickly. So now let's take a quick look at some of those 3 stages of messaging since this crisis began. And as an example, I want to play a few radio ads from the Peggy Hill team. They're a local real estate team who've stayed the course, kept their presence in the market and in the community. They've built their brand on being genuine and authentic, and that's reflected in their slogan, the Peggy Hill team, keeping it real. So right when this all began, we were all seeing a lot of fear, uncertainty, and shock. So let's just have a listen to the first ad, if we could, Mackenzie.
We are going to come through this. There's no question in my mind we're coming through this.
A real moment with Peggy Hill.
We encourage people to call us or text. You can go on our website. You can contact us directly. Whatever questions you have, we are happy to answer them because we know what's going on because we're in the thick of things here. Whether the way we do business changes, such is life. But as a core, as a people, we are never going to change. We are always going to be there for each other. And really, that's all that matters.
Peggy Hill, broker of record, RE/MAX Hallmark, Peggy Hill Group Realty.
So this ad, which aired for the first few weeks of the pandemic, expresses compassion, understanding, and reassurance. It just reflects Peggy's genuine feelings at the time, which mirrored those of the community. So as we moved into a second stage, as fear and panic subsided, there was more of a desire for clarity in how to engage with a business now. This second ad began airing towards mid to late April. And let's just have a quick listen to the second ad.
My fear is that people think that they have to buy a home without actually going in it, and that's not actually the truth.
A real moment with Peggy Hill.
We can show it to you virtually initially, but you can certainly go into a home. You can certainly measure, look around. We encourage people not to touch anything, but people are going into people's homes and they are buying real estate, and it's not all virtual. Everything we used to be able to do, we can still do. We just do it differently. We do it smarter.
Peggy Hill, broker of record, RE/MAX Hallmark, Peggy Hill Group Realty.
So before the crisis began, we just assumed every business was A, open for business, and B, safe. But those assumptions were really no longer true. So as a business, you needed to provide assurance and actively articulate the new way of doing business with you and the measures you're taking to keep everything and everyone safe. So we'll move now to the third ad, and this is the most recent. It started airing probably around the end of May, beginning of June. And at this point, things were beginning to restart and people were eager to return to a sense of normal. So let's listen to the most recent ad.
If you're out there and you're confused about this market, or if you're worried or anxious, reach out to us.
A real moment with Peggy Hill.
Fresh data comes to us every 15 minutes. Reach out and we'll give you the straight goods. We'll give you the numbers as they actually are. Because even in Simcoe County, there's pockets. Innisfil is different than Barrie. Oro is different than Barrie. I don't want to make decisions for people. I just want to be able to give them the facts to empower them to make their own decisions.
Peggy Hill, broker of record, RE/MAX Hallmark, Peggy Hill Group Realty.
So as you can hear there, that message is one of value. It shows the brand is proactive in finding solutions and wants to be a resource. So that's 3 significant sort of differences in how messages have evolved in 3 months. So now looking into the future, how will your business message evolve? We really have to just wait and see and adapt in the moment, but we must continue to live in the mind of our customer. Things are still very unpredictable, as we see in the US. One nice thing about radio is you can change your message quickly, often in hours and not days, so that helps. I do think we're at a point where people seem ready to laugh again a little bit, participate in society. They're looking for value for sure, so offering a deal may be effective. As we mentioned, people are looking for local options. They're looking for integrity and they're looking for safety. So all of those things should be part of your messaging moving forward. But again, adapting day by day is important. You always have to ensure that the message is going to be relevant to your ideal customer. How can you bring value to their lives? You want to be creative in your messages, offer something new. Perhaps there's another local business you could partner with to package and offer. That would show some collaboration, community spirit. In this business climate, it really is not the strongest that's that will survive. It's the business that can best adapt to the new reality, I think, that's going to be most successful. So as I reflect on my own message and value to the clients I work with, I think about the unique aspects of radio advertising. One is radio's ability to connect on a human and emotional level. It's a human voice connecting with you one-on-one, and that's a really powerful way to deliver a message. So I've also often wondered why it's still so exciting for me to hear a client's ad on the radio. I've created thousands of ads in my career, and sure, I can play them back on my desktop, but there's a certain magic when you hear it on the radio. And I really believe it's because it's a shared experience. When you hear an ad on the radio, you know there's thousands of other people listening at the exact same moment. So it's comforting. You know, Central Ontario Broadcasting really takes its responsibility to the community seriously. We're a vital source of local news and information, but throughout this crisis, we were also a gathering place for many who were alone in isolation. It was companionship and a real human connection. So I think that's got some serious value to it. That's part of my value message, and I encourage you to really give your brand message a lot of thought and consideration as we move through the next little while. Make sure you re-examine your message often, no matter what channels you use to get it out. Just make sure it's relevant and in touch with your customers' needs. You need to know your customer and share your evolving brand story with them as often as you can. I hope that helps a little bit.
That's awesome. No, thank you, John. I think you painted that cycle and timeline perfectly. And even in terms of, I can relate to seeing it when even just watching commercials on TV to the whole cycle, and how it was very much reactive, but now people are getting to that stage of just support and being positive and taking those practices into account when dealing with their messaging. I'm just wondering if the other panelists, do you have anything to add when it comes to letting your clients know about messaging and storytelling in their marketing and strategy, and how important it is when you try to help those clients along?
I would just add that, very much echo the buying local is very, very strong call to action right now. And we're including that on like all of our landing pages, videos, everything like that. And it outperforms anything that doesn't have that call to action. It could be worth noting too that, this is a whole other side topic, but there are a lot of people that aren't concerned about COVID too. So depending on what your product is, maybe like having the messaging that's very strong in stay safe and protect yourself might not be the best thing for your audience, whether or not you believe that or not. I think it's just worth noting that of potentially in some situations it's worth toning that down.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Alex. Thanks. Well, we will move right along here. Next up, I'd like to introduce to you Daryl Wojtwitz of NetGain SEO. Daryl is the sales manager at NetGain based in Barrie and helps businesses attract new customers through the powerful web marketing strategies. Welcome, Daryl.
Thanks so much, Mackenzie. Yeah, it's clear to me that I need to update my profile picture or shave maybe. And if there's some online men's grooming club I could join. Alex, Brown, I'm looking right at you. So stay tuned on which one I decide to do. This is my favorite photo. This is an actual street sign in San Antonio, Texas. And it's a very large street, so big in fact, they've got a West Commerce Street and an East Commerce Street. So here's the abbreviated e-commerce. If I had a clever segue, it would be something along the lines of whether you're a business in San Antonio, Texas or Barrie, Ontario, we're all facing the same challenges when it comes to keeping a business open and sales and distribution of products. I would suggest that if we take a look at the last 3 or 4 months, we have seen a remarkable change in buying behavior. We've gone from panic buying, where you couldn't find hand sanitizer or Charmin Ultrasoft, to a trend which I think is going to stay with us. Not that online shopping is anything new, but just the level of adoption and just the comfort level on the consumer basis. I think that is something that's going to stay with us for a long while. Let's take a look at the next slide, Mackenzie. Oh yeah, so who can join or who can blame people or Heather for wanting to shop online when your option is to stand in line in front of a store? I will hand it to these people. They have the priorities straight. So that's important. We have seen some winners and some losers in online retailing. There's a lot of categories that have actually done quite well. And not surprisingly, anything to do with personal medical equipment, anyone that's selling any sort of cleaning products has seen a huge spike in traffic. Another category that might not have been intuitive, but you think about it, when schools shut down in April, May, and the kids are at home, there was a huge spike in the sales of online toys and kids products. The losers, unfortunately, any kind of luxury gift or luxury type products. So I do feel badly for anyone that's got a jewelry store on Dunlop Street. Anything automotive. So not that you're necessarily buying a car online, unless you're buying a Tesla, but automotive related, whether it's tires or windshield wiper fluids, anything along those lines. Even this tool category in general suffered. It is still suffering. Travel, of course, no one's booking a cruise anytime soon online, and anyone selling any kind of travel related products online is definitely struggling. Now this is what intrigues me. We can make some good use of this. This isn't e-commerce sales. These are searches, and this is data right from Google Canada. So we've seen an evolution here from March, when we all face a new reality of working at home, and who would have guessed it? I'd still be working at home, and July 1st tomorrow. We saw anything home office related, office shares, for example, searches are up 100%. And why the searches is important? Because it's a leading indicator of an eventual purchase. And I'll show you how you can tap into that in a moment. By the time April came along and we realized we were in this for the long haul, searches on things like hair dye, hair clippers is another example, up 800%. By the time May came along, the word delivery was included in a lot of searches, up 130%. So, any kind of product you can imagine with the word, delivery and berry. So here's how you can make use of this. If you've got a pen handy, you might want to scribble this down. Google Trends. So this is a website, more than just a website. It's a tool that anybody can use for their business, and I suggest that you take a look at it. So here's how it works. I just typed in the word hair clippers, and just to see what traction that keyword is getting over the last, in this case, 12 months. But take your top 10 or 20 products, or if you're in the service industry, take your top 10 or 20 services. And this is how you can keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on. And this isn't just the United States, although I have that in my search. You can search Canada, you can drill down to Ontario, and you can even search specific cities. It tends to be GTA related, but it gives you an idea. If you're wondering, what people are shopping for, what products are of interest, you'll be able to notice trend lines, whether those trend lines are down or up. And then that gives you an opportunity to be adaptable in your business. And we've heard that word once already today, pivot. Pivoting from one product to another one that gravitates with customers. Here's another interesting trend, conversion rates. And this is one of the most stubborn metrics that we use in the e-commerce world. And the way to think about it is not every person that visits your website is going to buy something, right? There's only a certain percentage. But those that convert from a website visitor to actually purchasing something, we call that a conversion or a success. And it's very difficult to move the needle on this. But we're up almost 10% year over year in that same time frame. It's almost the same sort of urgency that we are accustomed to seeing with Cyber Monday or Black Friday. So to me, the takeaway here is that when people are visiting your website, they're visiting with intent to purchase. So you need to roll out the red carpet and make it easy for them to do whatever it is they need to do on your site. Yeah, so from bricks to clicks, whether you want to or not, especially if you're a more traditional retailer, you've got to find new ways to service your customer base. We've seen all sorts of creative options out there. And again, not that a lot of folks had e-commerce because it's been around for quite some time. They may have had it as an add-on feature because they preferred that face-to-face interaction. But now that that add-on convenience feature is now their lifeline. Like all of their customers are buying via e-commerce. So we talked about the pivot products. So hopefully using that Google Trends tool, you can identify those products that you're selling that customers actually want to buy. There's a funny acronym, BOPIS. What does that stand for? Let's look at the next slide. Buy online, pick up in store. We've seen 300% and 400% increase in this type of buying behavior. And I'm going to suggest that this is not going to turn around. Even if a vaccine was released today, there's going to be hesitancy to go into the stores for some time. And also there's a convenience factor that even when we're out the other side and we're through this pandemic, people are going to remember those experiences, how easy it was just to place the order and then it's ready for pickup. So if you're in the type of business that can support this type of interaction, then you absolutely should. So what do people want to do on your site? Well, that depends. We're speaking to kind of a broad audience, but if I could generalize, I would say they want to buy your products. Or if you're service-based, they want to set an appointment with you or place a reservation. So that could be as easy as placing a button on your website. And hopefully that links in with your scheduling software and makes it easy for them to see available appointment slots. If you're in a business-to-business type of industry, just giving your customers the option to pay their bills online. The account that normally cuts that check and sends it into your business is probably not working from their office. So again, just make it easy for your clients to interact with you. You've got to think about kind of the overall goals here. Number one is you may be like a super duper friendly person, but your customers don't necessarily want to see you face to face right now. So it's about reducing those physical interactions. I talk about removing friction. What I mean there is go to your site and count how many clicks it takes for a customer to get to the product that they want to look at. Hopefully it's 2 or 3 clicks, not 7 or 8 clicks. So that's what I mean by removing the friction, making it easy for your clients. So you're delivering a really friendly online experience for your clients. So if you're just getting into this, maybe a couple tips I can leave you with. Shopify and WooCommerce are the 2 biggest platforms in the e-commerce world, and they're pretty different. There's both pros and cons with both of them. Shopify is great if you need to get this done like this afternoon. It's a turnkey platform. It's super easy to use. The only downsides is you're kind of paying the subscription fee for forever and ever, and you might not have the exact customization that you want. So it's not a perfect fit for everyone, but for a lot of smaller companies or startups, it's great. WooCommerce is a little bit different. It's a one-time purchase, but it's a plugin for your WordPress site, and most sites are WordPress based. It gives you unprecedented flexibility to set up the store the way you want to do it. The only caveat is there's a bit of a learning curve, and you're responsible for maintaining your site in general. So that would be 2 to evaluate for your business. The next step, once you've done that, is if you want to accept plastic online and accept payments, you've got to get yourself a payment gateway. Here are some of the biggest names that you've probably never heard of in the e-tailing space. But the good news is whoever you choose, it's a fairly straightforward process of registering and getting your banking information set up so that you can accept those online payments if you haven't already done so. And the sad reality is it's not a build it and they will come kind of situation for your online store. Remember earlier I was talking about those conversion rates. Well, everyone that visits your store isn't going to purchase, but if you can somehow encourage them to visit your store again, that's where the email marketing comes into play. So if they can sign up for promotions or specials or deals or information, then you can reach out to them and encourage them to come back to your store. Search engine optimization is super important for e-commerce sites, at least on a technical side, so that when someone is searching for your types of products or your types of services, you're more likely to show up on that first page. If you need immediate traction, like starting July 1st, Google Ads is a quick way for your, as Kevin Darcy had mentioned, a quick way for your website to show up when someone is searching. So I'll just leave you with a few parting thoughts. I think that the companies that are successful and that come out of this on the other end strong, like Kellogg's and some of those examples that we saw, are going to be the ones that are not just resilient, but I think adaptable in the face of all this consumer change. When we reflect back on this period of time, let's say 3 or 4 years down the road, and we think back to 2020, I think it'll be known as the great e-commerce adaptation or adoption rather. It's something that's not going to go away. This is going to be a permanent feature. So even those that were just dabbling in e-commerce are going to be using that more as a core business model. Again, I'll just underscore, you think in terms of a customer and your customers. We've all visited crappy websites that make you want to pull your hair out. Don't be one of those. Remember, your clients are comparing your website with the best experiences they've ever had online. So you really need to deliver not just memorable, but just making it easy for your clients. Thanks so much.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Daryl. I couldn't agree with you more. I know at least in some regard, every business needs to have some sort of online presence. So thank you for your tips with that. Now I just like it's transitioned so nicely into introducing our next panelist, Alex Brown of the Beard Club and e-commerce rockstars, and a mentor at the Henry Bernick Entrepreneurship Center at Georgian College. Alex is known as one of the leading branding, marketing, and operations experts in the global e-commerce industry. And he's the co-founder of the Dollar Beard Club, a subscription-based company that went from 0 to 10 million in its first year and has gone on to get over 500 million online video views and generate over 50 million in revenue. He's a mentor to numerous e-commerce businesses and has been a keynote speaker on 3 continents and counting, and is currently serving as the CGO of MyGreenFills.com, which is also an 8-figure subscription-based business for refillable non-toxic cleaning products in the US with a team of over 80 people. So last but not least, I'd love to welcome Alex. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, and I've really enjoyed everyone's talk so far. It's kind of going to have some overlap into what I'm talking about. Actually, the first point here, John and Daryl said it far more eloquently, but I want to talk about what the offer is, whether it's online or offline. And if you build it, people don't just come, right? People care about themselves, right? They don't necessarily care about you or what you're selling, right? And especially online, you have to build a bridge so that they trust you, they like you, they know you, and they're going to take that leap and actually buy something for you. And having a good offer and being in the right time, in the right place with the right message and the right offer is where you can be really, really successful online or offline. People really want to get a deal. So if you think about, all the cheesy infomercials you've ever seen, they all follow the exact same script. And it's because that script works every single time. And at the end, they give you a really cheesy offer that's like, but wait, if you order today, we'll give you another one. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, I'm really getting a deal here. And that's what people want. Unless you're selling something that is, an item that somebody brags about getting full price for, typically people want to brag about getting a good deal on it, right? So I want you to think about, if you're having a hard time finding the pathway to new customers online, is to really like, what is that thing that you can offer? Is it, buy one, get one free in that case? Is it like, hey, try this product for free, just pay the shipping? You've also seen that, and really you're just factoring in the product cost into shipping. Or is it, spend X dollars and get Y, or buy this product and get that one? Really being intentional, thinking about what that offer is going to allow you to stand out, and it's going to allow you to buy Facebook ads or Google ads, or, have an enticing thing. Like Daryl said, people have to come to your website, but they also have to convert into buyers, right? So this is something that often companies really miss out on, is building the bridge from someone who doesn't know you to actually caring about you enough and to actually trusting you enough to buy. So I think that's really important that everyone thinks about if they're struggling online right now. Next slide. Yeah, perfect. So I don't want to go too deep into the math of performance marketing, but what I'm going to talk about after this is kind of affiliate marketing influencer marketing and different things like that, because I know a lot of people are really interested in that and don't necessarily have a big budget right now for marketing. But performance marketing is really, you only pay when there's a sale. I actually just saw that Adam Pivko joined, and he works for one of the best performance marketing agencies in the world. What's up, man? He always gives me a shout out when he creeps me on presentations. So it's really, you only pay when there's a sale, right? And so the risk in this situation is passed on to someone that's an affiliate. So they have an email list or whatever, someone that's like a potential partner. We'll go into this a little bit later, but I want to touch on the 3 really important parts of the math of this equation, right? There's always a customer acquisition cost, right? So you're going to have to pay Mark Zuckerberg or Sergey Brin and the Google guys, or you could potentially pay a partner who will send someone to your website, and then you pay them when there's a sale, right? And I always tend to understate what my customer acquisition cost is going to be, right? And so factoring in the fact that you're going to have to pay to get customers to your website, like Daryl said, not all those customers buy, and the customers who do, you're going to actually have to pay a cost for that, is really important to remember. And it takes some time and some playing around with to actually get what those numbers are really going to be. Your average order value, this is really, really important, both online and offline, right? So if someone comes into your store, you want to send them out with as much in their arms as possible. If someone comes to your online business, You want to try and upsell them as much as possible. So if they buy, you know, an iPhone, why do you think they push so hard on cases and all of the accessories? Because they make so much more money when you walk out the door with that. But this is really key to making sure that you can be profitable online, because again, a lot of times your acquisition cost to pay for a Facebook ad is actually going to be really close and potentially unprofitable for you as a business unless you have a high average order value. So you're selling more of the same thing, or, you know, things that are very similar. Amazon does this very well. Every time you buy something, they'll suggest for you what other people bought, and that's so that they can put more stuff in those boxes. And the last one, really important, is the lifetime value. And this, for me, in every situation, every business I've been in, really profit is where people are coming back to you again. And I think Daryl and John and Kevin had all mentioned this, is, you know, building a list of people that trust you and like you and know you, that you can then reach back out to with an email. You don't have to pay Mark Zuckerberg anymore. You don't have to pay an affiliate anymore. You're just sending out that email. You're sending out a text. You're sending out a message, and that person already likes and knows you. You've paid for that relationship, and that's where the profit comes in. And as you get better at this math of the equation, you'll actually be able to lose money on the transaction when you first bring a customer in the door, because you know, hey, in 1 month, that person's going to buy again. They're going to come back, or they might be on a subscription, right? So if we go to the next slide, I just wanted to touch on that math because I think it's really important as we get into partners, right? So really, an affiliate is somebody who is selling your product for you, right? And they take many different forms. There's always influencers, of course. This has kind of become a buzzword where influencer marketing, let's pay someone that's going to post for us, and it's going to be this really great thing with all kinds of sales. That really seldom happens. Influencers are really great at building your brand and helping your brand affinity. But it takes a really good match for an Instagram influencer to sell a ton of your products. It can work, but they're often very expensive investments. When influencers work best is when they're on a performance basis. So, hey, if you're going to sell my product, I'll give you $20 for every sale. And they're like, cool. And you're like, cool. And everything's good. But right now, I think there's a real big opportunity for partnership marketing for brands. A lot of brands, you know, and companies sell at trade shows. They sell in retail stores, and they don't really have a great online presence, right? So now's an opportunity for you to approach those stores, the trade show owners, other brands that you know that actually work with the same audience, and do collaborations and partnerships and say, I'll promote you if you promote me. If you guys make sales, we'll give you cash. A lot of times now brands are happy to help one another just because it is a struggle for a lot of people to find more sales. So if you don't have to pay for customers, it's even better. But I always love to incentivize people as much as possible. You're also able to sell other products to your list and promote other people's products. Like if you really can't sell your stuff, you have an engaged audience, you can sell that stuff to your list, or sell their stuff to your list. Next slide, please. So you really want to, when you're working with partners, structure deals that work for both sides, right? So it's not just about you and selling more product. It has to be worth it for those people as well. You can work at a break even if needed. So remember your lifetime value. You could even work at a loss. So you can basically sell products at a $1 or $2 loss, sell 100 of them, but now you have like 100, buyers on your email list that have tried your product, and you can rework those people and build that relationship with them. And really ensure there's a fit with their audience, right? So you don't want to sell something that's completely not a fit for their audience and their list. You want to make sure that it's a good match. And you can always create a competition, incentivize people. Hey, we have 5 other people that are promoting this for us this month. If you do best, we'll give you, this big batch of product or whatever it is. Make it exciting and interesting so that there's a bit of a competition going on. I don't have much time left, but kind of the last part, what I get always asked about is kind of video and content. The biggest and best, this is a really great time for video content because people are used to seeing TV commercials now with iPhone videos of people talking to an iPhone, right? So bigger is not necessarily better. I've spent a lot of money on ads, videos that did not really produce great results. I've spent, $1,800 on a video that brought us in $3.2 million. There's a little bit more to that equation, but the point is that you don't need a $100,000 video to do millions of dollars in sales. And to back it down, even like, an iPhone video you shot for free with 30 seconds can bring you in your first $1,000 of sales online, right? It's just about doing it and getting better at it. Best by far, though, I found is social proof and user-generated content, UGC. And really it's your customers talking about your product and how they why they like it. You hear this on the radio a lot and a lot of Giants clients. hey, I started using this product, I really like it. That's really the best kind of video that I found, pound for pound, is someone being able to see your product, someone like them using your product and loving it, is really, really awesome. So that's basically it for me. I kind of went over time there. I was trying to fit too much in as usual.
No, that's awesome, Alex. Thank you. And it tags on what you just said, tags on so nicely to what John said earlier about just showing that human connection at the end of the day is so much more valuable than those videos that you can overproduce, and you just can have so much more results with being real.
Authenticity.
And yeah,
Yep.
100%.
Authenticity.
Well, that's so awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll open it up to questions now. I know there's been quite a few buildings, so we can get into them. The first question, what is a good marketing strategy if all your marketing dollars have been reassigned to development due to COVID-19?
I'm going to just default in this scenario to saying personal sales. You can always just call people up, call and ask for referrals, friends of friends. Even when you have an online store, like if you're struggling to get traffic, you can't afford to buy Facebook ads yet, just call your friends and your family members and say, like, hey, I'm starting to get my online store. Can you give me feedback on it or something like that? That's just always an option. It's the least favorable one. And, I personally like to hide behind landing pages and websites and tools, but, personal sales still works. So I would say that's probably your most profitable option right out of the gate.
Yeah, and if there's no real marketing dollars, sorry, Daryl.
I was just going to say another thing you can do for free. Obviously, marketing dollars have been reassigned. You can always write content for your site. It's a bit of a slow burn in terms of a strategy because you might not see the results for 2 or 3 months. So it's not great for immediate traction. But if you're in the type of business that needs to be found online, Google tends to prefer to rank high quality sites with high quality content rather. So start writing, doesn't cost you a dime.
And really quickly, without any marketing dollars, again, we talked about partnerships, partnering with other businesses and seeing how you can share sort of leads and resources and things with them. I think there's lots of opportunities to collaborate with other businesses.
Absolutely. John, I think this next question is good for you. Is it a good idea to broaden your messaging to reach potential clients that are generally outside of your target demographic? Or is it wise to stay the course and double down on reaching those people within it?
Well, I mean, brand awareness and brand building is a proven strategy for long-term growth, right? I mean, you could talk all day to the customers you already have, but they're already your customers. You really need to go outside your potential base and build your brand. Having that recognition in the community, in the market, will lead to more sales and people discovering you down the road. You may be planting those seeds today and then harvesting them 2 or 3 years down the road, but you've been consistent in building your brand. So I'm always for broadening reach if you can. Awesome.
Anybody else want to add on to that?
Yeah, I would suggest if you're from an e-commerce perspective or an advertising perspective, I always like to make sure things are working in your backyard before you broaden them out. But if you just opened up an e-commerce store, you've just expanded your territory from Barrie to the entire world. So if you're going to do some sort of marketing campaign, let's just make sure it's working first locally, and once that's pieces in place, absolutely broaden it, because anyone can buy your products from anywhere with the click of a mouse.
The only thing I'd be cautious of too is making sure that you understand what that change in your market is, right? Because if you're just talking about broadening from a geographical standpoint, but going after the same target audience, great. That makes a ton of sense. If you typically sold to women only and now you're going to sell to men, make sure you understand what the messaging and the value proposition is to that audience, because otherwise it's going to fall on deaf ears.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thanks for adding that, Kevin. And this question, we kind of touched on it, same kind of concept. I mean, they are asking, when there's no revenue present, how do you spend money on marketing most effectively? So if you want to add to that, you're welcome to, but I feel like we kind of touched on it already. How to bring charging a fee back when so many things are free, somebody wants to know, and how to market when people feel inundated by virtual ads.
Well, being inundated by virtual, I mean, it comes down to, being a little bit different, and you really do have to be creative in your messaging. There's a sea of messages out there. So whatever you can think of to be a little bit different will help your cause for sure.
And then I guess,
with
yeah,
the-
how to be, sorry, Daryl?
Oh, I was just going to say with the inundation side of things, and the more targeted you can be with your whether it's your social posts or your boosted posts or your pay-per-click, whatever it is, if you're like super laser focused, then you don't really have to worry about that whole inundation side of things because you're only advertising to people that are already interested in your services.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big fan of remarketing, which are those creepy ads that follow you around the internet after you've been on someone's site. You've already acquired that traffic from somewhere. They haven't purchased anything from you yet or converted. So let's keep in front of them at extremely low cost. And, to Daryl's point, they have an interest in your brand. So let's keep your name in front of them.
Another question, with so many options to use for social media, what is the best way to identify which media is right for you?
I feel like Kevin might be the best one to answer this one, but I think really depends on where your customers are, in my experience. Like finding out being really clear on who those people are, and then finding a pathway to get to them that's how I'd select the sort of primary channel.
Yeah, exactly right. There's a ton of published information about the average demographics on each platform. So it's about matching the platform to the information about your target buyers and spending your time there. Doesn't mean that, somebody who's 18 isn't also using Facebook, but they spend most of their time on Instagram. So maybe that's where you want to start your promotion.
Yeah, don't spend all your time marketing 7 different social media platforms, right? If your customers aren't on Pinterest, then don't spend any time on Pinterest. Close that account down and get the link off your website. Just focus to where your customers live.
Somebody's asking how to get over a plateau in social media growth.
I've seen firsthand that having a big social media account doesn't really help. Like we have 1.2 million followers on the Beard Club, Facebook account right about now. And if we post something, only like 5,000 people see it, it's really bad, right? Like, so I'd probably focus more on creating assets that you can use to put ad dollars behind, whether that's on radio, whether that's on Facebook, like reaching the right people with the right offer, again, to me is more important than having a social media following. It's just kind of a vanity metric for me. Absolutely. A lot of big brands do millions in sales and have no social media followers. For
sure. That's a great point. What is the best way to set up an awareness campaign to be able to sell leads in the future when my martial arts gym is allowed to be opened? I believe Facebook and Google ad costs are extremely low nowadays. That somebody is asking.
Well, I'd say content, definitely. If you just produce whatever content you can of value to your customers and keep that relationship going with them in whatever channel you can establish, right? So that they know when you are open, they're going to know and they're going to be interested in what you're putting out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you can use ads or social media or anything to continue to build that awareness and build like an email marketing list, and that gives you a tool to keep in front of them at no cost, essentially, so that when you are able to open again, you're the first name they remember.
I've seen a decent. Go ahead, Daryl.
Thanks. Actually, to Alex's point about social proof, for a martial arts gym, I think a lot of people, because there's a lot of options there, right? I think a lot of people are going to want to know about those reviews and what people have thought. So perhaps there's a way you can reach out to some of your clients that you had before the quarantine and ask them for a Google review, a 5-star Google review. You're not allowed to incent them with a discount or anything to leave you a review, but you're certainly allowed to ask them. And then you can go on to Google My Business and just send them the link. Most people will be happy to do it. And that should help things once we're back to normal, whenever that is and whatever that looks like.
Is that a Google law, Daryl, that you can't incent them to get
it violates the Google.
Did that law pass? Oh, it does? Oh.
It does. You can incent your staff to ask for those, but you cannot incent your customers with any sort of discount. So don't do it. But most people will be happy to do it if you provide a good service.
A strategy we've used in the past for getting a lot of leads and like a lot of exposure and stuff like that is running contests and giveaways. So that works good for getting a high volume of leads, but it's not necessarily high quality because a lot of times people just want stuff for free, right? So, but it's the same reason why you've got like the business card jar where you put it in for a free lunch. It's worked for ages. You just have to work it right.
Well, we're about 2 minutes to 2 o'clock, and we still have quite a few questions left, but we'd love to get those answered and send those out afterwards. I just want to take 2 minutes to let you guys know that they're with our panelists, they're actually offering resources aside from this presentation today to support a bunch of businesses right now who are in need from the COVID-19 impact. So I just want to take some time maybe to go through each of you what is going on with you and how you are helping right now and what you have to offer. So maybe John, you could let us know, start with you first.
Sure, yes. Central Ontario Broadcasting has introduced a $1 million stimulus program. So we're awarding advertising grants to local businesses, community groups, and charities to help them get their message out, because we know everybody's cash strapped. So ownership has made this advertising time available to the community over the next 6 to 8 to 10, 12 months. Grants go anywhere from $1,500 to $10,000 worth of advertising to use on Rock 95, Cool FM, and Barrie 360. The intent is really just to help the economy recover in Central Ontario and hopefully make that a model recovery for the rest of Canada. So you can apply for those grants at recovery2020.ca or any of our platform sites.
That's awesome. Thanks, John. I'll be sure to send the link along in the follow-up to all the attendees. Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, so Think Feel Marketing has recently joined with some other companies in the Barrie area to launch an organization that we call Plan to Pivot. You can visit us online at plan2pivot.com. And we're a collective group of subject matter experts on various different areas of your business. And what we're providing is free consultation and roadmap services to help people guide and navigate themselves and their businesses through these tough times to make sure that they're coming out on top when things are getting back to normal. So plan2pivot.com, encourage you to check it out.
Awesome. Thanks, plan2pivot.com. And Daryl, how about you with NetGain?
Yeah, a lot of my conversations with clients recently have been they're paralyzed. They don't know what to do. The state of the website could be in shambles, or they don't know how to do that e-commerce piece on their site. If you find yourself in that category, we're happy to help. We've got a free consultation, whether it's 20 or 30 minutes. We always like to do that in person, but I guess these days it'll be a video conference or over the phone. So certainly we'd like to extend that to the audience today. If you know you need to do something but you don't know what that looks like, even if there's not necessarily a good fit with NetGain, we will be more than happy to get you pointed in the right direction.
And Alex, I know you've been supporting with the Henry Bernick Entrepreneurship Center, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, they're a tremendous resource for anyone in the Barrie and surrounding area. And, regardless of your stage, whether it's kind of an idea, early stage business, or you're advanced, you're growing, I tend to work more with like the growing stage businesses, but there's some really awesome resources available through it. They're obviously a Sandbox Centre partner. So if you're interested in getting some mentorship hours from me or just from one of the many awesome mentors that they have there, or some of their resources, I would recommend, looking that up. They have a little intake form you can fill out, and they'll link you up with the best resources you can find.